Scott Frank, it's not his directorial debut, but he's more known as a screenwriter. He's written screenplays for like many famous directors, but he pretty much always has another director take over his work. Like he's written films for Steven Spielberg before, and Steven Sotomayor. But this series is pretty much completely his own. Scott Frank wrote and directed every episode, which I'm seeing with kind of in this like TV renaissance that we're kind of in, especially with miniseries.
It is better. It's the better format. It's the better format.
Especially with this miniseries, or in miniseries in general, you're kind of seeing one director doing every episode.
I watched some because I absolutely loved this series.
Yeah.
For so many different reasons. But I watched a bunch of like behind the scenes stuff and making of stuff, and while I get what you're saying as far as him like writing and directing everything, he was also talking about all the different team members. That the costume design and the sets. I mean, like the sets are just insane. And so he was spending more time talking about all of his collaborators, which I appreciate because
well, he
a lot of times those people are not talked about enough.
Right, and they really do deserve it for this show because the set dressing and the costumes. How they recreate the 1960s is amazing. And I said this in my breakdown kind of at the end of just, it's not just creating 1960s America. They recreate one, it's not my favorite episode of the series, but it's probably my favorite setting of the series is when they're in Mexico City.
Yeah.
And recreating 1960s Mexico City when, Mexico City at that time, kind of like the center of the Latin world, was just amazing. How they really get the feel of, you feel like you're in this epicenter of everything when you're in those Mexico City scenes.
Yeah, and also, I mean, just about the whole idea of the renaissance of TV. This is because in that same behind-the-scenes, not documentary, it was a short thing on YouTube, but he was talking about how he had tried like 10 years ago to do this as a film.
Yeah, Scott Frank was a big fan of Walter Tevis, who wrote the novel, and he had tried to do this as a feature film originally, and then decided to do it as a miniseries.
Dude, I had so many times where I thought throughout this, it's 100% better as a miniseries.
Right.
Because they're able to go so deep into Beth and like... the background and showing her childhood. And like, you just could not get the emotional... Dude, like at the end, when it's like revealed that Schreibel, her teacher, however you say his name, had like that shrine to her. Yeah. I fucking literally almost cried.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that hit me like a ton of bricks. Like,
it was great. I never read the novel. So I don't know how much of it was just for the TV show and how much of it they actually took from the novel.
But to be taking that ride for 7 episodes as opposed to just sitting there for an hour and a half to 2 hours, you're sitting there for 7 and change hours at least.
Yeah, well, I feel like it really does with the 7 episode arc. You do get a sense of because we follow Beth over years.
Yeah.
And you do get a sense of you took this journey with her because you're watching her for so long. In the movie The Hustler, which I talked about, was Walter Tevis's other book. It only takes place over a course of a few months. So maybe for that, a 2-hour film is more appropriate. But I mean, when you watch somebody grow up, you don't want to just keep with this person for 2 hours. You want to understand the complexities of who this person is. And I mean, Beth is one of the most complex characters that we've really like talked about on the show. I mean,
yeah, definitely. It's like how much of an individual she was, but how much she was also striving for connection.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like she was really a deep character because she was fine being on her own, but she clearly was interested in human connection. And then like the way that they did her childhood was like not just the obvious stuff like the, you know, orphanage, which that stuff was really powerful, but like the weird shit with her mother and how they play that out. And like, I mean, that like, dude, there's some serious performances in this thing. Like even her mom, who's barely in the show, like what is her screen time? 5 minutes total throughout the entire thing. And like, she fucking killed it. Like
And
everybody killed it. There was no bad acting
The
performances.
stepmom also killed it. I know that Scott,
like basically her mom.
Yeah. But
exactly.
her stepmom, that character, you know, Scott Frank said specifically that he wrote that. He wrote her lines with that actress in mind.
I was audibly like yelling at her. Like I'm just like, don't give her a fucking drink. No, like because I know how that plays out. Being a former drinker.
I think. But also, it's like the first scene of the entire series. Like we know how that's going.
Toothpaste on my sweatshirt.
We know how that's going to end up for her. We know how that one drink ends up with her later on.
Yeah, and also that stupid like bimbo from France who like ends up fucking her night up. Like, I'm sorry, is that not a cool word anymore? That's like an old school
bimbo
word. Well, I don't know. But anyway,
no.
But the point is like, you know how that's gonna end.
Yeah.
Like, oh, just have one drink. Really? We've all said that.
Yeah, we all understand like where this is going. What I was saying about kind of like these new miniseries of how, you know, back in the day with television, like forget miniseries, just the idea that you'd have the same director for 7 episodes was like almost unheard of.
Why is that exactly? Because I know even that was obviously even a thing with The Sopranos, which, you know, is the go-to example of everything. But what? Because to me that.
So here's the thing.
Wouldn't you want the same person for continuity and all that? Is it just a workworkload issue?
Normally, it is really just a workload issue.
That
especially with television shows. Television shows, when you have a series, especially back in the day when people were doing like 24 1-hour episodes for a season, like Law and Order, you can't have somebody direct 24 episodes in a row. And a lot of them would do
depends on the shooting schedule, but if you're trying to bang them out, if it's a weekly episode like a Law and Order or like a Madam Secretary, then you wouldn't have the same director. It's just too much of a workload. You can't get it all done in time. So here's where your experience in this industry comes in, where we don't actually even call upon doing this that much, but break down for the people why that's not going to happen for a director. Like, what is going into a director's job description?
Well, because
that's going to be so...
People don't understand how much prep time that there is.
So talk about it.
There's so much prep time for a director, where a director is really going over everything. And a lot of it takes place before they shoot. So what they do for like a lot of series, I don't know if this was so much the case back in the day. This is at least how they do it now, is they basically do it in blocks where you have 2 or 3 episodes. That's a block. So you have one director for those 3 episodes. He's prepping the episodes and then you shoot. While you're shooting those 3 episodes, you're prepping the next 3. So that's a different director who's working on prepping while they're working on shooting.
Right.
And then it goes in blocks. It's usually
just to keep it moving.
Just to keep it moving, that's how it is. But when you're doing a miniseries, especially with Netflix when they're all appearing at once,
right,
you don't have to keep making sure that the episode is ready for the next week.
Got it.
And
Got it.
if you want someone like Scott Frank who wants a continuous feeling, vibe throughout the entire series, you can have him direct every episode. But they also do that for like HBO when they were doing Escape from Dannemora. Ben Stiller directed every episode. And that still came out weekly, but they shot the entire thing first before anything aired.
Yeah, exactly.